Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. I am Jamie Beth. Today we're going to talk about the Turnbull Canyon. And this is an article that I found, I just found fascinating, and this place just fascinating. So we are going to jump right in. I think I'm going to do my eyeshadow first this time because I'm going to be doing a dark makeup look, and I just don't want a lot of fallout and stuff just in case. So we'll be beginning our eyeshadow look first. So Turnbull Canyon has long been rumored to be the home to the occult meetings, ghostly haunts, the scene of brutal murders, and tragic accidents. How does this seemingly peaceful hiking trail earn the reputation as a place of mischief and evil? Hidden deep within the many rises and ravines that separates the Whittier from Hacienda Heights is the sinister history of Turnbull Canyon, with a past filled with rumors of an insane asylum, ghostly sightings, and a tragic plane crash. Even if you don't believe in ghost stories, the residents of Whittier have reason to be concerned about what goes on the many trails in Turnbull Canyon. Sure, the persistent rumor of an insane asylum remains in the realm of legend, but the murder of Gloria Gaxiola and the plane crash of 1952 are all too real, thus causing some residents to wonder why this canyon seems to be like a landlocked Bermuda Triangle. So even with the history that this canyon has, it's still, like, people still want to come see it and like flock to it. It's crazy. So looking through all of the numerous websites with the myths and hauntings of this canyon, one of the most popular theories for all of the horrific events that happen is that Native American spirits are still angry about having their land taken away. Although it can't be proven, there was some tension between like the white settlers and the Native Americans. In the mid-1840s, there were many conflicts over the ownership of land in California, which at the time belonged to Mexico and which the U.S. was trying to take over. Early in 1845, William Workman became captain of the Americans and Europeans serving with Governor Pico in a battle during the Mexican-American War. Following these battles, that Pico gentleman was appointed governor of Alta California. Pico awarded William Workman 49,000 acres of land, which included what people now know as Turnbull Canyon. Workman did not get along well with the Indians, who were the original inhabitants of the land. Even though these Indians would later work for him, it is said that they would raid his property from time to time. These Native Americans were understandably upset. Prior to Workman's arrival, their land was invaded by the Spanish. Father Sarah, a founder of some of the California missions, recounted in a letter the brutality of the Spanish soldiers to these Native Americans. Given these claims, a lot of people believe that these Indian tribes still haunt Turnbull Canyon. You can still possibly hear the drums echoing through the canyon, as well as seeing William Workman amongst the spirits that are still roaming the canyon. Whittier College alumni Hugo Guzman grew up in Whittier and believes in the many tales of the canyon. He even spoke of an odd experience he had while walking around the canyon. He is quoted to have said, "A friend and I once climbed down the ravine and we had to hike through the bramble to get out. There was something following us. We never saw it, but we could hear it and feel its presence. So yeah, I can believe there are some angry spirits up there." End of his quote. Other Whittier residents say that all the fright hype about the canyon is just a bunch of baloney. So one resident quoted to say I have heard all of the stories about the canyon, and I still don't think it is haunted or anything. Another one said, I have been up there in the canyon several times and have never had any odd experiences. Another resident mentioned that it is just unreasonable that people try to make it out to be a place of evil. Yes, bad things happened up there, but bad things happen all the time, everywhere, which is true. It does. Okay, so I didn't like where that eyeshadow look was going. We're going to do something different. So sorry about that. I'm going to just kind of start over and go from there. But yeah, I didn't like that at all. I thought it was looking a little too wonky. So, and that eyeshadow I was using was not, like, it just was not sticking the way I wanted it to. And it was really like getting to be patchy, and I had to put more on, and it was starting to look just too much. I don't know. When speaking to Whittier residents about the myths and incidents surrounding Turnbull Canyon, few of them knew of how the canyon was named after murdered Scottish immigrant Robert Turnbull. So Robert Turnbull arrived in California in 1873, where he lived until being murdered in 1888. Robert Turnbull was a shepherd who moved to California seeking to make money in real estate. The first patch of land he bought was located in LA near the Macy Street Bridge, now known as the Cesar Chavez Bridge. Not long after moving to California, he gained a reputation as the town drunk. His drunkenness would later be a leading factor in his murder. As Turnbull was making his way in real estate, the owners of the Temple Workman Bank, William Workman and his son-in-law, F.P.F. Temple, were poorly managing their business. In 1875, the state's economy collapsed and the bank was unable to meet the demands of the townspeople. Unable to save their business, the bank was closed January of 1876. And I just realized how dark this foundation is looking at me. Holy cow, that's terrible. I tell you, I can't get it together today for some reason. So in May of 1876, Workman found out that his land was, his property was going to be foreclosed on, and a couple days later took his own life. Following the downfall of the Temple Workmen and the death of Workman, Turnbull was appointed to an advisory committee that consisted of the bank's largest creditors. The committee was to work towards getting the townspeople their money back, but whether they did or not is unclear. Being part of the advisory committee, Turnbull was able to buy land for cheap. That is when he decided to buy Turnbull Canyon, which cost him almost nothing. Turnbull liked the canyon because it was a great place for sheep, whose wool made him great profit and had an active stream. In 1885, two Quaker men, Aquila Pickering and Jonathan Bailey, were searching for land in California to start a new colony. They purchased land surrounding the canyon, and seeing that the canyon had the water resources they needed to start their new settlement, they approached Robert Turnbull and offered to buy the land. Knowing the value his land had, Turnbull refused to sell it. For 2 years, the Quakers continued to make Turnbull an offer. And in June of 1887, they presented Turnbull with their final and highest offer, $30,000. That was nearly half the money the Quakers invested in what is now known as Uptown Whittier. Finally, Turnbull accepted their offer. In January of 1888, Robert Turnbull spent the evening, as he had many others, drinking. On his way home, he fell off his horse and was arrested for public drunkenness. The next morning, after spending the night in jail, Turnbull returned home with a broken, bruised, and bloody face. He had been beaten but could not recall how. So as a result of his injuries, the next day Turnbull succumbed to a brain aneurysm that the coroner said was a result of a blow to the head. The aneurysm caused Turnbull to fall off of the Macy Bridge into the LA River, where his body was later discovered. Coroners concluded that Turnbull had been murdered. When the Quakers got news that Turnbull had died, they decided to name the canyon after him, since he was kind enough to sell them the land. So as beautiful as this canyon seems, there was one incident that was just extremely tragic that happened there. On April 18, 1952, the LA International Airport control tower lost connection with Lewis Powell, the captain of Flight 416. The plane was expected to land in Inglewood, California at the LA International Airport sometime around 3:30 a.m., but it never arrived. Captain Powell made last contact with the tower around 3:33 a.m., saying that the plane was positioned over the city of La Habra. Several radio calls were made to the captain and his crew, but a response never came. Around 10 a.m. the same morning, a rancher named Hayden Jones was driving around his Whittier Heights ranch when he saw smoke rising from the hills. Concerned, he climbed up the hills to find flames and pieces of steel smashed into the hillside of the canyon. Nearby residents awoke to the sound of the plane crash. According to police reports, some thought a bomb had exploded, and others who suspected it was a plane were unsure because it seemed so unlikely that a plane would crash in the canyon. Today, many of the younger generations who have grown up in Whittier have heard of this incident and have written it off as a myth, and are surprised to learn that this plane crash did actually happen. And the reason for this crash to have happened is because Captain Powell decided to fly 10 feet below the suggested altitude. It has been speculated that the reason Powell chose to fly at the lower altitude was due to the thick fog that made it difficult for him to see where he was flying. As authorities cleaned up after the crash, they found it difficult to pin down how many passengers had been on board. Had it not been for a document that had all on board recorded, they may have never known, because some passengers had disintegrated in the flames. There were a total of 29 people on board Flight 416. All passengers were said to have died at the moment of impact. One of the passengers on board was a resident of Whittier named Harriet Parmalee. Harriet was 29 years old when she died in the plane crash. She was a flight attendant who was off duty at the time and boarded Flight 416 to get back home after staying with family in Michigan for her uncle's funeral. Next, we're going to talk about the hunt for Hell's Gates. So of course, in this canyon, there's some type of gate to hell. It's becoming as common as a lady in white. There is a path that will lead you to Hell's Gates. It's not paved with anything weird like skulls or blood stains or, satanic markings like some people might suggest. Those who hope to come across Satanists will find that the dusty trail leads to a gated fence topped with rusted barbed wire, covering with signs saying private property or beware of dog. These signs attempt to dispel those looking for adventure, but instead further entice reckless individuals to trespass, and it's easy to see why. The looming ramshackle gates provoke curiosity, and the dense overgrowth makes it nearly impossible to see what lurks behind. Rusted chains loosely hold the gates shut, and a rusted beware sign swings in the wind. There is no sign of a guard dog anywhere. Some believe the legendary insane asylum waited beyond these gates, a place where mentally ill patients were mistreated until it burned down in the 1940s. According to an El Rancho high school student, Anthony Martinez, not much resides on the other side of this gate. Just mostly spiders, bottles, and car parts in the surrounding gated bushes. Martinez visited Turnbull Canyon numerous times and often goes at nighttime. He has hiked the trails, heard the stories, and even trespassed beyond Hell's Gates. It was a path that led up to a stop sign in someone's backyard, he said. Nothing outside the gate suggests the foundations of an asylum, with the exception of a protruding chimney-like structure that can only be seen in the distance. There's always a chance of something or someone hidden in the thick bushes. Martinez did say, "I didn't explore though. I followed the loose trail, so I'll never fully know what was there." In October 12th of 2002, 17-year-old Gloria Linda Gaxiola was shot in the head on Turnbull Canyon Road before being dragged by a car for 4 miles to Hacienda Heights. Her body was found at a crossroad of Hacienda Boulevard and Colima Road. It is said, unbeknownst to her killers, that her foot had been stuck on a seatbelt. For 5 years, the case made little to no progress until the arrival of a new unnamed witness, whose help ultimately led to the arrest of 3 suspects: Abraham Acuna, Matthew Garcia, and Victor Mong. 3 men she had known and had been friends with were convicted of first-degree murder for the brutal killing of Gloria. All 3 men had previously been involved with criminal activity and were eligible to face a lifetime in prison with the addition of her murder. The following year, on Tuesday, August 4th, 2009, Cristina Martinez was stabbed and slashed with needles and left to die. Vincent Mendoza, Edward Meraz, and Jose Alia were booked on suspicion of attempted murder and kidnapping. According to Martinez, she thought these guys were her friends and couldn't understand why they did this to her. She managed to climb out of the ravine where they left her, I assume, and sought help at the home of a 90-year-old Arlene Boatwright. Meraz and Mendoza were found guilty of kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. Ayala received a 39-year sentence. So on March 3rd, 2011, an unidentified woman's body was found hidden in one of Turnbull Canyon's ravines. Parts of her body were missing, and according to the Whittier News, she was found 10 feet deep in an embankment with her left arm missing and her body heavily decomposed. Her identity has yet to be discovered. So some events that happened that can't be confirmed or debunked or I guess they have their own, like this canyon has its own urban legends as well. There's an alleged hanging tree where a man reported to have hung himself, and he can only be seen at the time of his death, but nobody can find this alleged hanging tree or where it's specifically located. So there's another thing called the Gravity Hill. Apparently it's an ancient burial site, but nobody has been able to locate this either. So those kind of have gone to the backside as just urban legends. So that is our video for today. That is the stories behind this famous Turnbull Canyon. Some people claim, yes, it definitely is haunted, while others are like, it just is kind of eerie if you walk around there. So it depends, I guess, on who you talk to and who is telling the story. Like most things, like most things that have kind of a scary or turbulent background to it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and remember to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, as well as the notification bell next to it to be notified of all the upcoming videos. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.